Hey guys, welcome to the Sim Racing Paddock. I'm William Marsh, and today is a day that I have been anticipating, but somewhat dreading at the same time. This is the release of Project Cars 3. This is easily one of the most controversial racing titles of 2020, and that is definitely saying something in a stacked year for racing titles. Project Cars 3 is a title that I'm going in kind of skeptical. I have not driven anything on this so far. All I've done currently is check the settings to make sure my wheel and pedal set is properly mapped, set the force feedback, and that is it. This is literally my raw first drive in Project Cars 3. But first off, I want to take a quick look at the menu. As we can see, the menu is quite simplistic. It is just a bar at the bottom showing career, multiplayer, rivals, custom event, garage, showroom, and settings. So we also see at the very top your driver, your rating, I'm guessing that is your competition rating, and their currency for purchasing cars in this career mode right here. So it's pretty straightforward, it's pretty simple. It does feel quite catered towards the console market, but what is nice is there is mouse support. F1 2020, please take note. So the car and track select screen for the custom event defaults to Monument Canyon with the Toyota GT86. I'm assuming that's also the car and track combo that is for the tutorial, which I actually skipped because I wanted my first experience to be with you guys. So if we click on the vehicle tab right here, you do see this is the only car apparently that you own at the outset of the game. You click on this button right here and it shows the vehicles available to loan. So Project Cars 3 has a pretty decent track and car roster, I'm assuming. So we have a Formula E car from Spark. We have the Toyota roster, so ranging from the lowly GT86 all the way to the prototypes. That's a pretty diverse roster. We have the Slightly Mad Studios Formula Rookie Super Truck, that's cool. Formula B and the Formula X makes its return in Project Cars 3. That's pretty cool to see. We have the Rimac C2, the Renault Megane Trophy, those are always fun. We have the Maxi 5, so pretty healthy roster. Radical, Porsche, Panos, however you pronounce it, let me know in the comments. I know I'm butchering it. The Paganis, those are welcome addition again. Opel, Nissan, Mitsubishi. Let's go down here. Mercedes-Benz. We have another quite full roster from another manufacturer. AMG is a separate manufacturer now, which is pretty interesting. McLaren. I love these McLarens. Fun fact, McLaren F1, my favorite car. But my favorite race car, though, has to be the Lotus 72D, which, is that in here? Yes, it is. Awesome. My favorite retro Formula 1 car, so that is great to see in here as well. So this is the classic Team Lotus, so we see all these classic, iconic Formula cars, as well as this one, which looks like it's a Can-Am car. I could be wrong, though. Lotus cars, though, shockingly light on the roster. We have 2 Lotus Cup cars and a new Lotus Ligier. We have the P3 prototype and the P2. Those are cool to see. Lamborghini Huracan, Aventador, Veneno, Diablo, Huracan, Sesso Elemento, and the Aventador SVJ Racing. Koenigsegg just has the Jesko. I thought the previous titles had some more cars, which is kind of disappointing that Project Cars 3 only has this. KTM Crossbow and the GT4 variant. One of my favorite GT4 cars, even though it's a bit of a pain to drive. Jaguar F-Type. Fun car. I got to drive it at Sonoma Raceway. It is a blast to drive. And then we have some more Jags, including the XJR9. Oh man, such a gorgeous car. Honda, Civic, The 2x4 concept. I'll take it. Would have loved to see some more Hondas, maybe an S2000 in mix. Ginetta G40. Ginetta G55. GT4 and GT3. And the LMP3 car. Not bad at all. Dodge Challenger Hellcat. Viper ACR. Is this the old one? No, come on. I'd like to see a classic Viper in here. Or at least some classic Dodges. Dallara, the IR18. Such a gorgeous car. It really is. Chevrolet Camaro Z28 Trans Am. That's what I'm talking about. Also, the new Corvette C8. That is one of the iconic poster child cars in Project Cars 3. As well as the C8R. I might have to give that a spin. The Corvette C7R is also in, as well as the Z06. Also the ZL1 GTR R4R. We also have Caterham, which pretty good set. Cadillac, we have the ATS VR GT3. Bugatti, the Chiron Sport. I would have loved to see a couple more. And then topping off the roster is Bentley with their Continental GT3 and the Speed 8. We are going to be taking the C8R for a drive. And let's select it. Hit enter to select. Get to pick our livery. America. I'm going to go with the silver though. That looks pretty cool. So you apply changes. And then you have to go back? Okay. And a little annoying with the interface. Long Beach was one of my favorite circuits in Project Cars 2. So let's try it in 3. And weather, I'm just going to have it set to a summer afternoon. Real-time progression. Clear. Yeah, that's fine. Would have loved to see a little more nuance in this weather control though. I mean, Project Cars 2 had a great weather control. Now it's just starting weather, finishing weather. Would have loved to see a race go from dry to wet to dry again. Yeah, so kind of disappointing. Settings, you can see mode, race, practice. We're going to do a practice, I think. So nowhere do I see anything in the way of realism for assist or anything. But while this is loading, I'm going to be putting on my cameras in 3, 2, 1. We are back on cam. So while this is loading, I'm just going to talk about some of why I'm a little bit concerned with Project Cars 3. So Project Cars was always intended to be this sort of simulation. That is what the S in Cars stands for, simulation. And now it's seemingly like they are abandoning that value. So for those of you not in the loop, Project Cars 3 is not going to have, or doesn't have pit stops. So it doesn't have pit stops. It doesn't have tire or fuel consumption. So that is kind of weird to see. So with that being said, I'm curious, has the driving feel compromised? So let's check the assists real quick. We are set to professional assists. So you can also have the track guide. I'm going to turn that off. So no steering assist, braking assist, anti-lock brakes. I don't need that. Stability control, traction control. No. Proximity indicator. Let's turn that off as well. We want the hardcore experience. That's what you guys are looking for. Tuning. I'm going to skip that tutorial there. Sorry, guys. You can check it out if you want. So you see balance setup, high grip, high speed, and this. Purchase a tuning slot? Are you kidding me? SMS? What the heck? You have to buy a tuning slot? You have to buy a setup preset? I'm sorry, but it's like, I understand this is a nice feature to sort of keep newbies or people new to the world of sim racing away from things that might be daunting for them. But to pay for a tuning slot, This balanced setup, this default baseline better be good then. I'm just going to say that. So let's jump in, let's get on track, and let's see what we are in for. Default's a chase cam on to start? Okay. Let's get back to cockpit. Not the best default field of view. Feels kind of mushy, but hold on. I'm going to actually see how the field of view adjustments are. So, yeah, this is the beauty of raw first impressions. You guys get to see this kind of stuff. So, not under HUD. Visuals? Field of view. Okay, at least it uses an actual number. So, I believe 53 is generally good field of view, which coincidentally is one of my favorite numbers. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's pretty good. You get that perfect indicator thing at the bottom right. That was not a perfect corner, but okay, I'll take it. So, driving feeling this right now. It feels mushy. That's the best way I can describe it. It feels like I'm kind of driving through a slush. And it's incredibly vague, but at the same time, the force feedback feels connected. And for reference, guys, I'm driving with a SimiCube 2 Pro, as well as the Usingveld Engineering Sim Pedals Pro. So, this is supposed to be like almost ideal circumstances for driving. And I'm lacking a lot of definition. And I don't know if that's because of the default settings. All I did was turn down the gain in the force feedback to approximately 30% because of the force feedback in the open sim wheel. Now, I could be setting it up wrong, but at the same time, this just feels very conservative. It feels very ill-defined in what the effects are. Like, hitting that curb, I barely felt anything. That should have jarred the wheel. And ultimately, it's okay. This is an okay driving game. But I wouldn't put this nowhere near a hardcore simulation, or even a simulation at the caliber of the driving model that Project Cars 2 provided. If I would give this any sort of compliment of this over Project Cars 2, is it feels like the cars are less snappy. But it's almost like they've gone too far in the opposite direction. So right now, with this default setup, it is very conservative, it is very mushy. But I'm wondering, what would happen if we do jump into one of the other setups now? So remember, this is the baseline setup, so we're going to hop out of that and see what a more aggressive setup's going to be like. Alright guys, you'll notice two things. Right now, I have adjusted the cameras in the video. That is because I want to be able to show you the full user interface, so I've strategically placed my camera in spots where you won't see the camera, or where you'll be able to see the full UI. But you'll also notice I'm back in the loading screen. That is because I just noticed that there is no return to garage screen like in Project Cars 2. So even if you're in a practice session, you have to drop out of that session, get back to the main menu, and get back and reload everything. That is a massive oversight by Slightly Mad, in my opinion. That is actually driving me slightly mad. So, what I'm going to be doing now is I think I'm going to try running this high grip setup. So we're going to go into that. We are going to get back on track, and let's see how this goes. No countdown or anything. That's kind of weird. I would have liked to see an actual countdown especially if you're gonna have you do a standing start because there's no freaking pit stops anymore. I mean, yeah. So let's turn in. I do see a better turn in, but it's like still no detail in the setup right now. A little oversteer out of the corner, so you can get it to slide a bit now. I don't think there's damage in this session. I don't know if it's something you set in the settings or what, but yeah. But also, it's like you can let this car hang loose all you want, I bet, because ultimately you don't have tire wear, which I'm like, just wait, what? So, I'm just wondering, what is going on through Silent Mad's head? This just... It's something where, for the hardcore simulation, it's understandable to feel burned. However, I am trying to look at the side of a marketing standpoint. This is the kind of title that is almost needed for the casual racing world as sort of this halfway point between simulator and a casual racing game. The problem is, it does nothing to tease. It does nothing to entice and sort of open your eyes to the world of this hardcore simulation. Because think about this logic. How would you say to a Gran Turismo hardcore player, hey, this is this awesome world of sim racing, and check out Project Cars 3. It is a title that is just like the PC version and shows you a glimpse of the world beyond. It doesn't really do that, really. I mean, ultimately, yes, car customization is most likely better, but think about it. Do you have pit stops? Or like the GT player would say, well, does it have pit stops? Well, no. Does it have tire wear? No. But the previous title did. Well, you're trying to sell someone on a title on the greatness of its predecessor. And the thing is, Project Cars 2 was an okay racing simulation. It had a lot of promise, but it had a lot of promises that ended up unfulfilled. And ultimately, that is what is so disappointing about Project Cars 3. Project Cars 3, they could have expanded on the Madness engine. They could have expanded on this sort of feature set that they had. Because the feature set that Project Cars has is amazing. If they refined what they were developing, improved it, and made it into a more hardcore racing simulation, that would have been a great boost for the sim racing community. And ultimately, driving something like this is kind of disappointing because Project Cars 2, for all its flaws, is okay. But ultimately, it leaves me disappointed. It left me wanting more. Project Cars 3 is not more. It is less. It might be more refined less, but it is less. So ultimately, this is coming off as a bit of a disappointment for me. But there is one thing I do want to check in this video, and that is how the AI behaves. So we are going to hop out of this car, even though it is pretty darn fun to drive, I'll give it that. But I want to jump into a race. So come with me out of this session and we'll set up a race. Alright, and we are now back at the custom event screen. If we click on settings, we can set it to a race. We can set it from 1 lap all the way up to, let's see, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. 99 laps is the maximum you can do in this. There are no more endurance racing according to this, based off of this menu. That is incredibly disappointing, but I can kind of understand. I would have loved to see a 24-hour race, but 24-hour race without pit stops, that would have been just horrible. AI, we can set up to 32. I will do 21. And we are going to go with IndyCar. So no qualifying apparently. No race weekend. That is quite unfortunate. But for this next event, I am wanting to try the Dallara IR18, which just so happens to be conveniently right next to Chevy. So we can select that. We see some of the liveries. Actually, it's a lot of them, so that's pretty great to see. A lot of official liveries. I'm going to go with number 27, Napa Know-How. For the track, I'm going to go, hopefully, with a local one. I believe it's in here still. If we go to Sonoma Raceway. So we have the Sonoma Raceway Grand Prix, National, and Short Circuit. We are going to be racing the National because that is the closest to what IndyCar uses. And what's interesting though, start type, standing. Is there any option for a rolling start? No. So why do you have the standing start type, kind of blocked by my camera, sorry about that. But why do you have standing start type if you're not going to have multiple types of starts? But okay. Well, we are going to be getting behind the wheel. And Sonoma Raceway. This is a track that, in Project Cars series, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with. In my opinion, Project Cars 2 and Project Cars 1's variant of Sonoma Raceway is the worst in all of sim racing. When I actually got to go to a press event at San Francisco to check out Project Cars 2, I talked with a guy from Bandai Namco, and he told me, oh yeah, we're going to fix Sonoma in Project Cars 3. Well, that is getting put to the test right now. We are going to take a look and see how good SMS's word is. But I think the left bend in the screen might be a little better, but I do not know for certain. We are going to find out, but yeah, I'm curious. So we're going to skip to the race menu. So at this race menu, we have the difficulty. So gone are the sliders, I guess. So it's easy, very easy, medium, hard, very hard, pro, legendary. Let's go hard difficulty. Medium aggression, I'm thinking. And again, all assists are off. This Dallara IR18, I am anticipating to be a bit of a squirrely vehicle. I'm hoping under the throttle, especially at a couple of the hairpins at Sonoma. All right. Let's have some fun, guys. Let's see how this goes. Did not get a great start. Oh, I almost got ran off the track there. We're okay. And still, I do not know if I have damage on right now because I've not seen a single setting so far regarding damage. So, yeah, that's kind of weird. Let's get into the groove, though. We're on the inside, though. So we're going to get to a couple of the ultimate tests of how this car behaves. We got a little loose and into the next car. A lot of slowdown here. Come on, guys. That's willpower right there. Oh, there must be damage. I see parts flying. I see Project Cars 3 is going the Need for Speed Shift route of having ugly, obvious ads and product placement for the product you already bought. And I see a car in front of me with no rear wing, and it looks like no ill effects. So that's interesting to see. I'm off the track. Whoops, that's my bad. But that was so easy to drive back on. So it does feel like the physics have been quite simplified for Project Cars 3. And after claims, oh, it's gonna drive even better and be more realistic than Project Cars 2, I gotta say, that is a load of bull crap. That is a total load of bull. And that is kind of disappointing, because I wanted to be optimistic. I wanted to say, oh, maybe the driving feels good, and some weird way that could maybe compensate for the lack of pit stops and everything. If you could get 5-10 great laps around the track, how would that be? But ultimately, this is just an average driving experience. Project Cars 2 I would have put above average, but ultimately I'm kind of disappointed. Granted, I am driving really slow. I'm just going to shut up and give you a bit of time to just watch the driving. Okay, that's interesting. I press the push to pass button and it sounds like freaking nitrous oxide. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because it's an electronic system that, to my knowledge, does not sound like that. But yeah, so getting back to this sort of almost rant right now, it's like I still just find myself wondering, what was Slightly Mad Studios thinking with this title? I mean, for a sim racing title to be announced by kind of a drunken tweet a couple years ago, to be frank, I'm not surprised of this game being middling quality. But ultimately, this is kind of disappointing. And I'll give them credit though. AI are fast. They do have a couple corners where they really mess up. It looks like turn 9 and turn 11, I believe, they are really struggling at. Maybe this hairpin as well, but it looks like Slightly Mad has slightly abandoned all semblance of realism in a racing game right now. I mean, the driving model's passable. The driving model's passable, I'll give it that. But, I mean, hopefully the career mode might make up for all this. But this just feels like I would rather play Gran Turismo Sport over this right now. Granted, I bet this has a better career mode. I'll give it that. This likely has better career mode, maybe more track variety, but I just think Gran Turismo was made with more care. Even Forza, I'd take over this. This just offers next to nothing new on the table, and it's disappointing. But granted, this is my first drive. Maybe there's some hidden gems that are truly amazing and show off what Project Cars 3 is truly capable of. But right now, I'm I'm not feeling it. I'm not enjoying this. And it's not because I'm sucking at the tail end of the field, 17th out of 22. It's because this just doesn't feel like a racing sim made with care and love. And yeah, so based off of this first drive, there's no way that I would recommend this to people. And full disclosure, I paid for this game myself. I spent $90 US dollars on the Digital Deluxe version of the game. So I better do a little more content to make up for that price, but I don't think I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it.
Good job. You kept up the pace. Just keep on pushing in the next one.
Okay, well, still gives you kind words even if you get a sucky finish, but yeah, guys. My closing thoughts on this first drive in Project Cars 3. I'm really, really disappointed. I got hyped up by people. People were trying to hype me up saying, oh man, the driving model's good. People behind the scenes driving Project Cars 3. It feels better than Project Cars 2. In one or two ways, it legitimately does feel better than Project Cars 2. I have a tiny bit better feeling at the limit of grip. It's not as snappy. And I think that's all the good things I can say about the driving model in Project Cars 2. It's like, no tire wear. I can understand that maybe. Gran Turismo previous games didn't really have as much tire wear or pit stops. No endurance racing, I can understand given the no tire wear and stuff. But when you factor in this lackluster driving model, the sporadic, inconsistent performance with the AI, and what it looks like still some poorly made tracks, yeah. If you're looking to buy this, I'd say save your money. So yeah, guys, this is my first drive on Project Cars 3. While it did leave me with a bad taste in my mouth right now, I'm going to dig a little deeper for you guys. I'm going to try doing some things, make some tweaks, try to see what I can do to try to maybe make this at least seem okay. Because, yeah, it's something where I don't want to see a title fail. I don't want to see a title just fail and just fall apart and die by the wayside. I want to see a title succeed. I want to maybe see what Project Cars 3 could do to try to make it a better title. So these are my first thoughts on Project Cars 3. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, please hit that like button and consider hitting that subscribe button to help keep us on track. For the Sim Racing Paddock, I'm William Marsh, and thanks for watching.